Is the USB thing on?
Is that better?
Oh, yeah. It's
Yeah,
still a little bit echo.
Yeah, I think we're just coming a little hot for people. There we go.
Coming a little hot.
So,
I don't even think we need that on.
You didn't even tell me I had...
Because it's going through the... Is it going through the camera?
No. You didn't even tell me I had a middle part.
Oh, in your hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like you have like this, like it's like very top, and then you have two things going like this.
That's great. Like little windshield wipers on my forehead. We're going to leave them there. Yeah, I don't know what's with the feedback. What if I cut this back a little bit? Hopefully that helps. So, economics.
Yes.
The social function of economic science consists precisely in developing sound economic theories and exploding the fallacies of vicious reasoning. In the pursuit of this task, the economist incurs the deadly enmity of all mountebanks and charlatans, whose shortcuts to an early paradise he debunks. So that was Ludwig von Mises.
Yes.
Jason, what's going on with economics today in data?
Well, yeah, I think he puts it at this, and this is in the Mises.org, cdn.mises.org. It's in their latest PDF magazine. And he says, what is the point of economics? What is the job of economists? Is this profession doing any good? So these are three questions, and he begins to answer them. And I think this is really interesting. He says, these may sound like absurd questions, but they are no longer rhetorical. The discipline is in trouble.
It's in trouble. You know, the founding piece to any economic theory is having the right data to verify if the theory is correct. And I'm glad someone's asking about Jesus.
I love it.
When do we talk about Jesus?
When do we talk about Jesus?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Jesus and Austrian
economics. So, all right, here's the thing. Here data.
A lot of them are Catholic, right?
Yeah, most.
So
of them
they believe in Jesus.
Yeah, they believe in Jesus.
There we go.
All right, so it's one and the same here for you, for everybody that's listening. So if we're looking at this, right, and all these people that we've coined as brilliant economists over time, even the ones that are running our central banks or treasuries, all that other stuff, or even writing papers out of any of the big Ivy Leagues, their whole fundamental idea is that I'm going to come up with a theory that explains human nature tied to the spending for goods and services. That's all it is. I want to try and explain human nature. I want to put it in a box that I've defined, and then I want to find data that supports it. The thing is, they're starting with these theories. They're starting with a fundamental idea of how they define economics rather than economics being allowed to define itself. That's like, we've run into this problem for all this time, even with, our ad systems. Somebody comes in and they're like, oh, hey, I want to put all these people in a box so I can deliver them a specific ad. This is the data that I have that supports my theory about who I'm looking for. So let me just fill it in through this. Oh, it seems to be working. Well, of course it does. You shove people into a box. This is the only opportunity for them to actually learn from is this specific area.
Yeah, and he goes into, when he says it's in trouble, he says this, that it's not just in trouble, but it's deteriorating. There's a strong case for viewing economics today mostly as a jobs program. This is really big. People need to understand this. One which provides pseudo-intellectual cover for political interventionism.
What the hell does that mean?
I would say corporate/political.
Oh, it's definitely corporate/political. The reason for that is because corporations drive policy.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not?
Well, I mean, what is the Federal Reserve? It's a corporation.
It's a corporation.
Yes.
What is the IRS? It's a corporation.
Yes.
U.S. Treasury. Corporation. So when you look at these things and you wonder, so like, how are these the key drivers here? It's actually incorrect in that format. And look at the data. Okay. I've come up with this grand old theory to say that economics are going to work a certain way. So what I want to do is I want to bring out a data set that agrees with what I'm saying. And then anything else that may contradict my conservative view of how I think the world works,
yes,
I'm going to omit that data because what I'm looking at here, I can flexibly bend this data to work with what I have. So that means people have this weird fetish around the data. It's like, oh, look at this data point that I found. It supports my theory. Let's all jump on board. Let me use I'll use a personal story as a point in case. When I used to be at Temple University in Philadelphia, I was in the business school there. These professors would sit in these huge, auditoriums, and they'd be telling people, okay, these are the fundamental equations you use for analyzing markets or economics. I was like, great. And they said any sort of trading, anything that's based off of the time value of money is fundamentally on these items right here. I was like, okay. And I said, is everybody using this? I raised my hand in the big group. Is everyone using this? I'm like, yeah, everybody uses it. I was like, great. And this works? Well, yeah, everyone's using it. All right, okay, good. So if this is telling me how the market should act or how economics should play out, why aren't you a billionaire? Why don't you hold all the resources? Or why aren't those resources completely evenly distributed across everyone if everyone's using the same equation?
Because like he talks about, those are yes men and yes women.
Yeah.
And I figured out our board, by the way. Just a short, quick note.
Did you figure out the board?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Everybody can do this live. That's acting as a webcam.
Oh.
So it's getting its audio from there and the board. So if you cut the board off, I think we'll still be fine.
I honestly don't even think it'll push through to that.
Because that's where the echo's coming from.
Well, I think we're actually running two streams at the same time. You see the one on top and the one on bottom?
Oh, that's what's causing it. Maybe too.
But it's all good. It's all good. We'll just leave.
This is awesome.
We'll leave a little echo now. But here's the point, right? So I'm asking this question, and the professor's getting a little frustrated.
Right.
Well, he's like, well, this is just what everyone uses. I was like, just because everyone uses it doesn't mean it actually works. I was like, point in case, you're not rich. You're standing here as a professor telling me how the world works when clearly it hasn't worked out for you. So why would I listen to any of this crap that you've coined up for some sort of economic theory and put all this data behind it to support it? All you've done is look at history and said, oh, this has defined our theories moving forward. Of course, you're going to look at all these points in history that fit into your model to say that this is what's going to happen. It's like the QAnon of economics.
Yeah, and he gets into this because he says most of the programs nowadays, especially in modern economics, is mathiness. So it creates all these quants.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's no real economic theorists.
No, it's all quants.
Right.
We're going to look at this data and we're going to create a mathematical model that fits what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can make math say what they want it to say. But the thing is, they don't look at the data and respect it just as it is. We've said this a million times, Jason, it's agnostic, right? So because it's agnostic, it doesn't care. Data's like so secular within itself. Why would the data want to specifically say that, oh, economics need to be a certain way? It just is what it is.
Yeah, behavioral economist, Nobel Peace Prize winner Esther Duffel said this: the economist as a plumber. As a perfect encapsulation of what ails economics today, it focuses on tinkering with policy, adjusting inputs here and there to create some desired outcome, which is what you're talking about. But I like that view. It's very simple of being a plumber.
Yeah.
And you're just moving the pipes, tinkering,
Yeah,
okay, this works.
This 90
we got flow now.
This isn't a good 90-degree angle. I got to change it a little bit. It's off a couple degrees.
Right.
Oh, look at that. Money's moving through it. Of course it will. If you've created a small area where you've decreased resistance,
right,
money, currency, is actually going to move through there.
And you love this statement. Listen to this statement. She
know.
says, the one-dimensional focus is always on the seen rather than the unseen.
Of course it's a one-dimensional focus. It's like when I take a telescope and I put it up into space. What are you looking at? You're looking at the stars.
Right.
You don't have a telescope pointed at the blackness unless you're working on some radio spectrometer to look at other things that can't be seen with the human eye. But all we typically focus on is what's right in front of our face. But what are all the hidden drivers? The things that the interdimensional things. And the reason I say that is because you have physical thing, and space in between.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you not paying attention to the space in between? Because that space in between makes up 99% more matter in itself than the stuff you're actually witnessing. So then how can you possibly say that your theoretical model of economics, based on the data that you've only been able to collect, which is albeit quite limited, defines everything that is possibly happening? Right?
Yeah, no, that's.
And this is where this logically fails.
Just because we don't understand the 99% doesn't mean that it's not reality and it's not truth.
Yeah, that's precisely correct.
It's just we haven't developed our knowledge enough to understand that.
And so if we,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. And if you look at the aspects of positivism, right? And they say like, okay, we need more theoretical ideas around economics. Well, let's think about positivism. Is a theoretical theory that insinuates genuine knowledge is exclusively derived from the experience of natural phenomenon. So that means everything I observe through my sensory experience is data, legitimate data that I can interpret through reason and logic.
I love that.
And with that reason and logic, leaves me with the exclusive source of all certain knowledge. So if I haven't seen the unseen, then I don't have the full picture. I don't have all the knowledge. I create my own paradox, and I'm essentially working in a lie and then forcing that model that's a lie on everybody else. So something that would all be quite natural, allowing it to define itself, you're not letting it do that. You are defining it. You are defining what you can't see.
Speaking of definition, this is so brilliant. Listen to this. Mises saw economics very differently.
Oh, Ludwig,
so I want to
of
get
course
into
you do.
this, and then we'll close out. He said the point of social science, in his view, is to help us understand the world, and that improve our fortunes within the world. So let's get into this. So a good economist should be studying social science.
He doesn't care. He only wants to boost an economy.
Yeah,
He wants to boost the efficiency of a government and corporations in the economy.
a certain select.
They think that money is the key driver to human happiness, evolution, and growth. It's not. Social science, understanding the actions and interactions between individuals and living things. Those are the key drivers of the system. They're working on the thing that's tertiary, or maybe even 4 or 5, 6 degrees removed.
Well, they're also working on that 1% and then allowing that 1% to get richer.
So again,
So that's where all the interest and energy is going to.
imagine if I had a model. I created a planet. That's my model, big closed system. And I had 7 billion people on my planet, but I only gave 1% of the oxygen, which is required to survive, to just that 1% of my 7 billion. How long do you think my planet would last?
Not long at all.
It wouldn't.
You're right.
I would have to artificially supply oxygen to all those other, 6.9999 billion people.
Well, that's what's happening.
Oh, that's right. And that's where you get all this printing, this quantitative easing, because the model that they had doesn't actually sit within the basis of reality. It doesn't fundamentally work with the social determinants of what's actually going on, or social interactions.
So when we look at Tartle, for instance, and we'll close on this, when we look at Tartle and we see the ability to be able to go across borders, the ability to be able to exchange currency, eventually with T-Coin, and to be able people to take ownership and sovereignty of their data. How does, when we look at the model that Tartle has, how does that differentiate from what is going on now in these economic scientists?
Because our focus is on the primary driver. Like I said before, they're focusing on multiple degrees removed from the things that actually create action within civilization. Our focus is on civilization. You cannot move without thought. Thought recorded is data. Okay? Putting in work from a raw amount of energy, calorie or food, should determine your earning of this reward. And the more I work, the more I evolve, the more priority I should receive. And that's how Tartle solves that.